Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. We will barrel on with our Count on the Buddha series. And I'm going to draw from a very interesting sutta in the numerical discourses in the Book of Threes. And the sutta is number 78, and Anguttara Nikaya 378. And it's in here somewhere. This is a conversation between the Buddha and his attendant of many, many years, 25 years, very, 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 very close relationship with Venerable Ananda. And I'll just read the sutta, it's not very long. Then the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One, and the Blessed One then said to him, Ananda, are all behavior and observances, austere lifestyles, and spiritual life fruitful when set up as the essence? And Ananda says, not exclusively, Bhante, like not across the board. Well then, Ananda, distinguish them. And Ananda says, Bhante, suppose one cultivates behavior and observances, an austere lifestyle, and a spiritual life, setting them up as if they were the essence. They engage in pretty, maybe even extreme, like rigid, maybe spiritual practice, and they're kind of maybe disciplining themselves. If unwholesome qualities then increase and wholesome qualities decline, it's not good. Such behavior and observances, austere lifestyle, and spiritual life set up as the essence are fruitless. But if unwholesome qualities decline and wholesome qualities increase, then such behavior and observances, austere lifestyle, and spiritual life set up as the essence are fruitful. It's the right way to go. It's beneficial. So this is extremely important for us to understand. This is a very useful daily understanding that we can apply to our spiritual practice. We can apply it to even a meditation session. If wholesome mind states are increasing and unwholesome mind states are decreasing, we are going the right way. What you're doing is fruitful. What you're doing is what the Buddha is trying to point us to. But if we're taking up some kind of a practice and we're finding that we're getting more hard on ourselves or more judgy about other people or more rigid, this is not the right way. This is the unwholesome mind states increasing and wholesome mind states decreasing. This is the litmus test for all of our spiritual practice. This is what Venerable Ananda said, and the Buddha agreed, the teacher agreed, and then the Venerable Ananda, thinking the teacher has agreed, paid homage to the Buddha, circumambulated him, keeping the right side toward him, and departed. And then this is so cool. The Buddha says, then, not long after the Venerable Ananda had left, the Buddha addressed all the other monks and said, Bhikkhus, Ananda is a trainee. He was not yet an arahant. All the other, chief disciples, all the other monks and nuns that were close to the Buddha were arahants. hundreds of them. And Ananda was not. He was a stream enterer, the first stage of awakening, and there are four stages. But like, even though he's just a trainee, this is what the Buddha says, but it's not easy to find one equal to him in wisdom. It's just so interesting. And he's being very, very wise here and giving us a gift. This gift of this litmus test that gives us ownership in our own spiritual lives. We don't need to be, oh, I did this thing, I was feeling anxious and then I did this practice and I started to calm down. Was it the right thing to do? You can answer that question yourself. If wholesome mind states are increasing and unwholesome mind states are decreasing, you are going the right way. Even if it's something you made up, that you didn't hear a specific meditation instruction, you're going the right way. And you can have some encouragement and some confidence. This whole this whole issue of wholesome and unwholesome. This is what we're doing here in our spiritual practice and what I want to speak about. And I hope the talk can be practical, sort of the what and the how. The what and the how. And really the what of wholesome mind states, it has this one flavor. Uh, and we've talked about this before, this whole cluster, this whole group of mental qualities that make up kusala. They make up the wholesome mind, the wholesome heart, the wholesome state. And they are the four that are really, really important to lock in and remember are, of course, mindfulness, this just being aware, being present, mindfulness, but along with that, this quality of attention that is, moving towards leading with non-aversion and non-wanting. We're we're truly making peace. We're truly accepting what is arising, even if it is difficult, and faith. And we have a confidence about the Buddha's teachings and about what we're doing in our spiritual practice. Mindfulness, non-greed, non-ill will, and confidence. And this is the wholesome mind. And so this is the radical thing in the Buddha's teachings. All of our strategies in life. I have grandchildren. I watch them. All of our strategies that we learn from the get-go is to try and manipulate what it is that we're paying attention to, what it is that we're experiencing, what it is that is arising. And the Buddha is saying, will never work endless. What you need to do is focus on here, on how you are relating to whatever it is that's arising. And it's this space between me and uh, whatever's going on. It's how we relate. Everything in life is a relationship. Everything. Um, Even the physical world. The physical, it's molecules, coming together and it's all relationship, even the physical world. Um, when my mother went to school, she learned about the atom because this was the smallest, this is what the universe was made up of, the physical universe, atoms. Then I go to school and, oh, no, you know what? There's stuff inside the atom. There's the protons and neutrons, there's a nucleus and electrons, and they're all relating to each other in this set way. Now my children go to school, my grandchildren go to school, and oh, you know what? There's stuff inside the proton. Oh, you know what? There's stuff inside the neutron. There's these hadrons. oh, there's stuff inside the hadrons. There's these quarks, and you can't have a hadron with one quark because there's nothing standalone. Everything is relating. Everything is relating to and everything, the essence of everything is in relationship. I'm not this standalone. And you'll notice this in relationship. Oh, this is why I feel really different when I'm with this person because they relate to me in this way and it brings out these parts of me. Um, because I'm not this set thing. Nothing is, even down to the smallest part of the smallest part of the smallest part. It's all relationship. So this litmus test of how we're relating. Am I relating in a wholesome way? So, and this is how it works. This is so we're not captive to our defilements. We're not captive to our greed. We're not captive to our ill will. I can bring in, okay, ill will is there. I am angry. Well, I can bring in awareness. I can, oh, wow, anger is here. And now I can start to relate to it in a way that is fruitful, a way that is useful, and make a dent in it. Um, and this is how it happens, um, the mind can only do one thing at a time. It moves very, very, very quickly. So if anger has arisen and I bring some awareness and I bring some acceptance and some understanding and some skill, it's going, and it's anger, wholesome, and I'm interrupting it, and I'm diluting it, and I'm weakening it. And eventually, when there are penetrative experiences of awakening, we've actually uprooted it. We've actually pulled it out, and it won't arise again. It's very, very far on the path. Very, very, very. But meanwhile, we keep, um, pulling at those roots, weakening them, diluting them. And so it becomes a virtuous cycle, not a vicious cycle. So and this flavor of wholesome that has this one flavor. There's a wonderful author named David Rico, and he's done a lot with shadow work, and he's done a lot with this wholesome way of relating, this wholesome quality. And he has this uh, teaching about these 5 A's. And these 5 A's really describe this way to relate to everything, to our aging bodies, to our unruly children, to the crazy politics, to the pressure cooker of the economics, these 5 A's. And they are um, awareness. It all starts with paying attention, with noticing, with not being lost in thought and not being numbing ourselves out, doom scrolling, careful, careful, careful with the social media and the cell phone. Awareness. And then the next order is acceptance. And then he talks about appreciation and affection. It's not, we're not being scientists, we're being friends. We're being friends to our experience, not cold scientists. You don't want just, oh, look at that, No, it's like, oh my, look what's here. Awareness, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. David Rico talks about it's very, very beautiful. And this is just another way to talk about the Buddha's teachings, to talk about this wise attention. We need to take runs at this so much because it's going against the stream. We've had strategies in our lives of just trying to control what's out there. And the Buddha is saying, no, you need to put all of that energy in terms of um, changing your habits. That's what we're doing here, and it's hard work, and it's slow going, but it's the most useful thing we can do with a human life. So David Rico talks about when these five A's are there. This is so beautiful, and it's so in line with what the Buddha is teaching. When there is acceptance, when there's awareness, acceptance, appreciation, affection, allowing. When these qualities are there, four things are happening, all so wholesome. Simultaneously, we are fulfilling our earliest needs as human beings, right back to the first day of life. This is what we've needed. We've needed to be allowed, accepted, appreciated, have affection. These are our deepest human needs in our hearts. And when we come to our spiritual practice, we get to have corrective experience after corrective experience after corrective experience, where we're learning how to meet those needs. And it's actually the only way that can actually meet them is through our own wise attention. Simultaneously, when these five A's are there, which is wise attention, which is a wholesome mind, we are simultaneously meeting our earliest human needs. We are fulfilling the requirements for intimacy, intimacy with ourselves, intimacy with our meditation object, intimacy in our lives, in our relationships, because as we strengthen this muscle and this skill, we're not the only ones that benefit. All the people around us, we start to become better listeners, much more accepting, much less anxious and judgmental, bit by bit by bit. Simultaneously, our deepest earliest human needs and the requirements for any kind of true intimacy. And then it's a description of metta. We're developing metta, a heart of loving kindness, a heart that isn't rejecting, a heart that's not pushing away, a heart that is softening and opening. And this is also a description of mindfulness. It's not like a scientist. It's like a friend. And so, yeah, we're going against the stream, and the real, yes, we're going against the stream of our culture. We're going against the stream of our conditioning. Really, the litmus test, the real, rubber meeting the road is that we're going against the stream of our own habits. And this is the how and the what that we're doing. Bit by bit by bit, we're changing our habits. And it starts with, how am I relating to X? And I have a lot of habit patterns of ways to relate to X, and I'm introducing new ones that are much more fruitful because they're heading towards wholesome. The Buddha, the Buddha is actually talking about anger when he gives this simile, but it really does apply to our habits. That some of our habits are like a line drawn in water. It's not so difficult to change. And some of them are lines in sand, and some of them are lines in stone. Some of our habits are very deep, they're very old, and when we get stuck in them, often we're in a very, very young place, quite under-resourced. And these are our lines in stone. And we have the immense, blessing of living in Canmore. And I don't know if you've been to Marble Canyon, but I love to go there and just think about what I'm doing in my spiritual practice, like water. When you see the power of water, just repeat it, just repeat it, repeat it, cutting through rock. This is and when we have a wholesome mind state, it does have this quality of water, of washing over, washing away, smoothing out. I love doing the dishes. Water is so powerful. You've got this crusty thing, you just put some water in right away. It's softening, it's loosening its grip, and it's washing away. Yeah, David Rico has this great little saying, this idea of changing habits. To repeat is human. To reframe is healthy. And that's what we're doing, bit by bit by bit. And each little time we notice, oh, this is happening less frequently. Oh, when it happens, it's less intense. Oh, when it happens, it's less long. It's here. I'm bouncing back quicker. I'm catching it sooner. This is us changing our habits. And that is how it starts. Often at the beginning, that awareness, we get swept up, and that awareness is actually after the fact. It's still useful. And the Buddha talks about this so much. As soon as we notice that, oh, that wasn't my best self. Oh, that wasn't actually helpful. That wasn't constructive. That's not how I want to show up in the world. When we notice this, this is not like, oh, when will I? It's not that. The Buddha says this is growth. This is growth in the Dhamma, growth in the teachings. This is something to celebrate. Sanghamitta talks about this. She did this for a couple of years in her practice. Um, Noticing when she wasn't with her breath and it being a celebration. Thank you, Sati, and coming back. This is a changing of habit. And that is changing the habit that we have um, in terms of our own shortcomings, in terms of our own failings. We want to change those habits too, the way that we relate to those. This is celebration. And then as we realize, oh, this way of being, this way of interacting, this way of relating, this way of holding myself is harmful. It hurts. It hurts me. Um, as soon as we start to really realize that, then we notice. We notice often after it's happened, and then bit by bit, we're going to start to notice when it's happening, and then bit by bit, we'll start to notice, oh, these are the scenarios that are quite often really challenging in different ways, and we start to uh, do preventative things. This is our spiritual practice. It's this hard work of changing habits. And one of the big things to change is our own negativity and our own way of relating to negativity and things that are difficult. And the Buddha is giving us this toolkit of love, this toolkit of metta, this toolkit of wholesome. And then we start to be able to hold our own pain, whatever kind of pain, physical pain, relational pain, emotional pain, career pain, ambitions pain, economic, like so many different ways that life is really hard. And we start to be able to open to that and relate to it in a very different way. And Beth calls it a superpower, and it is a superpower. And it really, like the water, eroding, when you can stay present for something that's really painful, really difficult, even if it's for a short time, even if you end up just touching in on it, you begin to have this superpower and you start to feel it wearing away at the fear we have of pain, bit by bit by bit. It's like, I can be with this. I can be with this. And we just had this retreat with Beth Upton, and I can think of three people on the retreat, from our community that shared with me, I didn't need to protect her from my pain. She could, I could be there all with all of my whole self and all of my pain, and she could hold it. She could just show up for it and be present. And that's because she's done it for her own pain. So she can hold so much. It's profound, but it's actually just having changed habits and having cultivated profoundly wholesome mind states. It is a superpower. And the Buddha had to be very explicit about this superpower. You rarely hear him talk like this. But this whole, I'm going to end with this whole litmus test of wholesome mind states increasing and unwholesome mind states decreasing. In the middle length discourses, Sutta number 70 at Kitagiri, this is a place, and the Buddha is dealing with this monk that doesn't want to follow some of the rules, and the Buddha's um, appealing to him and really like appealing to all of the monks and nuns. Um, you don't hear him talk like this very often, but uh, bhikkhus, have you not known me to teach the Dhamma in such a way as this? Here, when someone feels a certain kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. But when someone feels another kind of pleasant feeling, which would be a pleasant feeling that's not based in sensuality and sense pleasure, a a pleasant feeling that's from meditation, right? Where it's just, you're relaxed, there's peace, maybe even joy, etc., etc. That kind of pleasant feeling where unwholesome mind states are diminishing in them and wholesome states are increasing. Here, when someone feels a certain kind of painful feeling, unwholesome states increase in them, like they're with their child and their child's, whining or whatever, or they're in traffic or, they're meditating and their knee hurts. um, Unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish. But when someone feels another kind of painful feeling, and this is us staying present with something that's difficult, there's a time when someone feels another kind of painful feeling and unwholesome states are diminishing and wholesome states are increasing. And this is the superpower. And the Buddha goes on and says, and if this is what he doesn't usually talk like. If it were unknown to me, like if I didn't know for sure from my own meditation, from my own life, and if it were unknown to me, unseen, unfound, unrealized, uncontacted by wisdom, thus, all these things, then would it be fitting for me to tell you, abandon such pleasant feeling and, stay present for such painful feeling? And of course, they're like, well, no. He's saying, I'm instructing you this way because I know from my own meditation. There are certain painful feelings that when we stay present, wholesome mind states are increasing and unwholesome mind states are decreasing. And then the Buddha says, if I didn't know that for sure from my own life, I wouldn't instruct you like this. But because I know it, I'm telling you. So that's what the Buddha has to say. Sadhu.
Handamayan Dhammakataya Sadhukaram Dadamase. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.
Great. So we have a few minutes if anyone has some